It's my feel-good breakfast show.
You're on your Feel Good Breakfast show right here on S3. We're coming to you live from the Johannesburg studio. And like I told you before, family, yes, we're all about making sure that we're feeling good, but then we also need to have the very important conversations. And this is why this morning we're in fact talking to somebody who is going to be letting us in on what it is when we talk about gender-based violence in South Africa, as well as intimate partner violence. Now, we all know that in South Africa, 50% of the women who are murdered are killed by their partners. And this horrifying statistic is one that makes us say, where is the action? What can we do? What is the solution? And this is why the Agisanang Domestic Abuse Prevention and Training are the ones who are actually going forward and saying that we are all about preventing in terms of the different ways in which it is just perpetuated with the behavior of people that do make sure that we have these different statistics of abuse in South Africa against women and children. And then, this is one thing that I also love, the fact that we come together to do this, to be about the fight. It is why they have partnered with a global campaign, one that I truly believe is doing the work that matters, which is abuse is not love. And they are also all about making sure that the factors that are in place are actually 100% going against that intimate partner violence. And this is why this morning we are chatting to somebody who I genuinely respect, and you should as well, because he is not only just someone who is part of Agisanang Domestic Abuse Prevention and Training, but Sidwell Sukwana is someone who is today going to be chatting to us about how we can know about those 9 sounds to look out for in terms of domestic abuse in a relationship. How are you, Sidwell?
Gordon, how are you? And thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you so much for coming through, Sidwell, and thank you for the incredible work that you and your team are doing, because we know just how much this affects each and every one of us. It's not about the women and the children who are affected, it's about all of us. And this is why I want to please ask you, in terms of these statistics, what can you tell us that we need to know as South Africa?
I think, it's quite sad. When you look at the statistics, they are just disturbing, they're just appalling. Every 6 hours in our country, a woman has been killed, and has been killed by an intimate partner. So it literally tells you that we're in a crisis.
Yeah.
When we are reflecting around issues of intimate partner violence, there are global stats. I think you mentioned around, the YSL Beauty, the global initiative that we are part of. And it literally tells us that 21% of women and girls, children, from the age of 15 and older, somehow they've experienced issues of physical and sexual intimate partner violence.
Yes.
It tells you that globally we are literally experiencing these particular issues. But it comes very deeper when we look at our country as well. Because in South Africa, it tells you that it's 1 in 3. 1 in 3 of a woman and girl children, one is experiencing issues of, physical and sexual intimate partner violence. Remember, Zanella, this is the violence that has been perpetuated by someone that you are in a relationship with.
Yeah.
You can just look at the stats and realize that, we are in a crisis.
Yeah.
Look at this particular stat that speaks about every 6 hours a woman has been killed. And these are women that have been killed by people that they truly love.
100%.
People that are in relationship with.
People that they thought they trusted.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's just sad. And I think this literally, as an organization in partnership with YSL, we really realize the need for us to ensure that we engage with people. Specifically, we engage with young people because we strongly believe in primary prevention.
And speaking of that, of course, there is the factor of educating people and letting them know about what we can do to make that prevention happen. So please speak to us about that.
Absolutely. We've been implementing a number of workshops, targeting young people in different high-learning institutions.
Yeah.
Where we are raising our awareness around issues of intimate partner violence.
Yeah.
But we know IPV, it's within the content of gender-based violence. It's for people to also be informed around what is gender-based violence, what are the root causes of GBV, and how best can we play our role, what are the contributory factors of the subject that we are talking about. And I think the biggest thing is how can we unlearn some of the negative behaviors that perhaps the society gave us. We were raised in different societies where these behaviors that we are putting in place are behaviors that we are able to learn from how we were raised, family background. Majority of South African people, and especially African people, we grew up in the families where we've seen our parents being beaten by our fathers.
Yes.
And somehow we've normalized those particular behaviors. Young people, they are now replicating those particular behaviors in their relationship. Hence, we are seeing number of intimate partner violence. The stats that we spoke about, they reflect their upbringing, how people have been raised in different environments.
Yes.
But what we do when we engage with them, I think the main thing is we try to ensure that we speak about the forms of abuse.
Yeah.
That's when we speak about and trying to, define different types of abuse, the emotional, the sexual, the physical, economical. And those are the, some of the, forms of abuse that people are experiencing.
Yes, and Sidwell, can I actually please just ask you very quickly, because we are going to run out of time soon, but I wanted to ask you, because I know that we're going to have a second part to this. There are 9 signs to look out for when we're talking about this abuse that you're actually now just talking about.
Yes.
So please tell us about those very quickly.
Those are warning signs. We oftentimes, realize that people normalize intrusion when one would go through your phone, would normalize, intimidation, control, where one has been controlled, where one has been manipulated, humiliated. Those are some of the signs that, we are able to realize, where one will literally ignore you in days when they feel like they are angry. Deliberately, they will do that. It tells you that there's an element of power control that one is actually perpetuating.
Those power dynamics.
Power dynamics. They tend to, behave or, behave in a fashion that reflect one or more of these particular, warning signs that we are reflecting around. But the sad part is that we tend to normalize them. We tend to normalize the whole idea of one going through your phone, going through your private messages. That's what we speak about intrusion. We tend to normalize when one check your location and ask you where you are, send me a proof.
And wanting to even just make sure that they are able to 100% know everything that you're going to.
It goes hand in hand with an element of control. People have been controlling those relationships.
But Sidwell, yes. I want to stop you there quickly, because like I said, we're coming back to this because it's such an important conversation. And this is why, Expresso family, we're going to be getting into this a little bit more later on. You got to stay tuned, because like we said, we're all about the feel good, but we got to have the important conversations as well. Do not go anywhere though, because we got a whole lot more coming up. And that's why I got to ask, Cape Town, what's happening on your side?
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
You're still on S3, all in the name of Expresso, and today we are having the real conversation of what it is when we talk about domestic abuse in South Africa, which is why we are with Sanang Domestic Abuse Prevention and Training. Sidwell is someone who is part of the team who is making sure that this fight is indeed one that is fought so strongly, because we know about the horrifying statistics when it comes to the terrible ways in which women and children are abused in our country, and sadly, even women who are killed by their intimate partners. And this is why Sanang has joined together with a global campaign that honestly and truly stands against this. Abuse is not love. Sidwell, I'm so glad that we're speaking to you today, because honestly and truly, I think that this is something that so many people are so tired of trying to fight. Because why does it continue to happen? That is the question on everyone's tongue, because we all know a victim, but nobody knows a perpetrator. And that is the thing. And now I want to ask you, in terms of these high rising statistics, why does this happen? Why does it seem like South Africa continues to be leading when it comes to things like femicide?
Well, I think one of the main things that we need to also realize is that when we are reflecting around issues of intimate partner violence or issues of gender-based violence in general, these are behavioral issues. And they had to do with power and control. And oftentimes it's a power and control that one will exercise over the other person. And at the same time, we should also remember that, we are living in a patriarchal world. It's a patriarchal world where this is the world that revolves around the eye of a man. Oftentimes men are given this power and control for them to determine what to do, when, what to say, who they date. They date you, they will literally tell you that, Zanele, I expect you to behave in this particular fashion. Culture and religion plays a role in terms of determining all these statistics that we are reflecting around. Because man, the reason why I'm saying man, Zanele, it's that the perpetrators, most of the perpetrators within the subject of intimate partner violence, it's man. The patriarchy that I'm alluding around is the patriarchy that oftentimes it's been exercised by man. And it tends to be informed by how young boys are also being raised in different environments. A boy has been taught that, for you to deal with conflict in your situation, you must use aggression.
And you must assert yourself.
Yes. A boy, they would deem you as less of a man if you cry in public. We are raising young boys and saying, don't be in touch with your emotions. Hence, we are seeing all these statistics going up. They tend to be informed by emotions that have been bottled. One of the things that I always talk about, Zanella, I always say, the greatest shape of behavior is our emotions. We need to ensure that we deal with our emotions. When men behave in a negative manner, they're just reflecting how they feel. Some, they are reflecting the trauma that was given to them when they've been raised within the society, because they've been raised in a society where they were taught to bottle up. Some, they grew up in families where they've seen their fathers abusing their mothers. Some they said, I don't want to be like my dad.
Yeah, and they
But-
break the cycle.
No. Sometimes they don't. But they find themselves dating and behaving in the same manner that they've seen their father, behaving. The reason it's tend to be informed by the fact that there was no language that was introduced that will be against all these negative behaviors. Remember, children grew up in an environment where they learn by listening, by observing behaviors that are taking place. And 80% of those people, they'll replicate those particular behaviors.
Yes.
And if people have been raised in that environment, boys it's normal.
Yeah.
It's been normalized in different communities where, they will even speak about it, that I know you did well. You were able to actually put her in her space. All those, comments that are perpetuating the subject that we are talking about.
And so the cycle just continues.
The cycle continues. Hence, it's very important for us to break the cycle. And how do we do that? We break the cycle by ensuring that even the survivors who are a victim of intimate partner violence, they need to be informed. What we do with YSL Beauty is to ensure that we raise awareness. Hence, I spoke about the primary prevention.
Yes.
It speaks about the education, and it's one of the pillars within the NSP.
So is this what we now can do as society?
What we need to do is for us to also realize that, issues of intimate partner violence, people have grew up in an environment where they were taught these different behaviors that they put in place.
Yeah.
I think there are do's and don'ts that you can do to support someone who's actually experiencing these particular issues.
Such as?
I think firstly, you don't have to judge. Don't judge that particular person.
Yes.
Don't tell the person what to do, because whenever they are in problems, at the back of their head, they know exactly what is it that they would want to see happening. There will be a resolution from that particular incident that they are experiencing. I think what we need to do is just to ensure that, you are there to listen. You help me as a victim or as a survivor to discover my power.
And that they feel supported.
They must feel supported and they must feel not judged.
Yeah.
They must give them that space. Remember, we would normally say talking is therapeutic. When one comes to you and deliberate around the cases that they're experiencing, while they are speaking, Zanele, somehow they are able to cough out what literally bothers them.
Yes.
Even perpetrators of intimate partner violence, who majority are men, they should also be encouraged to normalize therapy, in a sense that they are able to go for counseling, for them to be able to address the emotional trauma that they've bonded with, that the society never made it easier for them to accept that we need to be in touch with our emotions. We can go and sit down with someone and speak about how we feel, speak about, some of the experiences that we experience, for them to be in a space where they are able to unlearn. Would often say behaviors are learned and negative behaviors, they can be unlearned. We can unlearn negative behaviors that literally make us to be, abusive towards other people. And how do we do that? We do that by ensuring that we go, we deliberate, we talk about things that bothers us, and we learn. We are part of, Abuse It's Not Love, workshops. You can even, go through the online, workshop that speaks about the warning signs.
Yes.
Where you are able to be familiar with these particular warning signs.
And Sidwa, I'm so glad that you've said that we're able to unlearn it. It is something that you're not stuck in forever. And
Yes.
just in closing, please, Sidwell, because this is such a beautiful conversation in terms of us just moving forward and genuinely trying to stop this thing that is a plight in South Africa. Please, can I ask you, what is your message to the men of South Africa?
I think my message goes to everyone, Zanel. It literally says all of us have a role to play.
Yes.
You and I and all of us individually sitting there and perhaps listening to this conversation, you have a role to play. There are two things that I regard as tools.
Yes.
These are the tools that perhaps all of us, we have those particular tools, but we tend not to be deliberate in using them. And that is our words and our behavior.
Yes.
I think we should literally sit and analyze the things that we articulate. Let us be intentional and understand that when we speak, we are shaping behaviors. When we speak, it's either we are addressing or perpetuating issues of intimate partner violence or issues of gender-based violence.
And number two?
And the behaviors that we put in place that reflect how we speak or things that we articulate. Remember, you would say something in a behavior, sometimes it tends to be in line with things that you say. So we should also be intentional in saying how I carry myself, the stuff that I do.
Yes.
Let them be stuff that are going to ensure that it shapes the environment to become a better environment. So that those who are looking and observing the behaviors that I put in place, whenever they are replicating that particular behavior, we know very well that it will be a behavior that is not perpetuating issues of GBV. Men should position themselves where they are deliberate and saying, I'm deliberately going to ensure that when I speak to a woman, I'll speak with respect.
Yes.
I will ensure that I'm not judging, I'm not and replicating behaviors that you are putting in place, they will be replicating behaviors that are not perpetuating the subject matter that we are alluding to.
Amen. Thank you so much, Sidwell, once again to you and your team. I think you're doing such incredible work, and we look to you guys to lead us to continue to do exactly that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Zanella, for having me.
Of course. It is a conversation that needs to continue over and over again until it stops in South Africa, because it is not okay that women are losing their lives and are being abused, children as well. And that is why we have these conversations right here on Expresso. It continues, and this is why we head back to Cape Town.